Put any little subtle meaning into that?
Into what you just played?
Yes.
I do think there is some subtle meaning into that. I do. I think it's still a work in progress in terms of trying to get Drake Maye up to speed on the Josh McDaniels offense, which is a great offense when it works because it gives the quarterback all these tools, but it's also a complicated offense. And in order to be able to access all those tools, it's great for the coordinator. You can look at it and say, well, here's an answer. It's this, it's this, it's this, it's this, it's this. But when you're the one out on the field that actually has to do it, and you're 23 years old and young in your NFL career, it's sort of asking a lot. And that's been my question from the jump is, are they going to break this thing down and give it to him in bite-sized pieces? Or are they just going to say, well, we know this offense works, so you have to get up to speed?
And what do you think it's going to be?
I think it's going to be this offense works, you have to get up to speed.
And you think that's a mistake?
I do think that's a mistake, yeah, at this point in his career, because there's no more valuable or important asset to the Patriots than Drake Maye. And we all see the NFL, it's pretty much have quarterback will travel. I think even the Eagles, and that's probably the most talented roster in the NFL, at least it was last year when they won. But I think a lot of us can admit that we've underestimated Jalen Hurts, that he's a better quarterback than we thought he was. Certainly there's a lot of stuff around him that helps him. There's no question about it. But they need Drake Maye to become a quarterback that can elevate the talent around him and can make the guys better and that they can build around. And in order to do that, you have to make sure he's comfortable. I still think Maye's one of these quarterbacks that even though he's smart, he's going to play more by feel, more by instinct than be like a computer processor out there, like a Peyton Manning or even a Brady.
There's like a sense of arrogance to that type of thinking. Like, this is what we do, you need to get it. Like, they're misreading the situation potentially in that perhaps the student might just not be able to absorb that type of information.
Yeah, a little bit. I think all the best coaches at any level, you adjust the system to the player to get the most out of the player instead of saying this system is ironclad, this is what we do, and you adjust to it. And that's been my question from the beginning. Will they mold this thing to Drake Maye, or are they going to try and mold Drake Maye to this thing?
Okay. I mean, we do have a pretty good example of McDaniels abandoning his system for the quarterback.
Yep.
And that's Cam Newton. I mean, that did happen.
Yeah.
And
even Matt Castle to a degree.
Well, Matt Castle, for sure, the way they played early on, for sure, was a total departure. It was just a sideways city. And I would even say Mac Jones. I mean, don't you think that there's reason to believe? I mean, they dumbed it down for Mac Jones. They must have, right? They held his hand, Chris, yeah?
I mean, they did hold his hand, but I mean, I think his greatest attribute, remember when he came out, people said, he's NFL ready. He's already there cerebrally, So I think when you look at, yes, did they put it on a Brady platter for him? No. And I thought, but I don't think that the hand holding was as much with him on the processing as it was not asking him to make throws or do things that physically he wasn't capable of doing. I don't think they super dumbed it down for Mac Jones. It was just, let's not put him in a situation where he has to make a throw he can't really make. And they did try and I wouldn't say this is dumbing it down. I think this is what you try and do for a lot of young quarterbacks. They did try and put him sort of ahead of the sticks and not put him in third and longs and not put a lot on his plate in terms of asking him to carry the offense. That part of it, I would say they dumbed it down.
Make no mistake, though, Chris is sensing a subtle, undercurrent verbal breadcrumbs, maybe from both sides, that this is going on. Drake Maye had a comment the other day that maybe you can read into a little bit. Jimmy, do you happen to have that? If we could, please.
Yeah.
Why is everything some sort of dig, Murray? Go ahead.
That's just how he talks.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I think it's great to have a play caller in the corner who's played against this scheme in the Super Bowl, and I studied a lot. And I think that's with a lot of coordinators in this league. He's played against them and seen them, and I think it's great to have that in the room and seeing what he's kind of get on the same page with him as what he's seeing and try to catch up as much as I can to his level. I'm not going to get there, but try to just of him understanding of, hey, I think they're going to do this, or hey, this is what I think they're going to be in.
Drake, in the past in this offense, not just McDaniels but Bill O'Brien, the relationship between the quarterback and the play caller and the offensive coordinator, there was a lot of give and take as far as input on what you guys wanted to do in that game plan. Are you at that point yet, or is it more of a one-way street with you?
I think, for right now, just trust him, whatever he's got in, and let him know what I like, and give an input here and there. Hey, I like this, I like that. So,
excuse me, that first comment, Chris, where he says, just try to catch up as much as possible and get on his level. I'm sure that's the one that you highlighted.
Yeah, no, both of them actually, because I think it is, the first one. Yes, he's saying, I'm trying to catch up to his level. I'm not going to get there, which he's right. He's not. And that's another one of those things. I mean, there's been so many of these little comments he makes that sort of say, I'm not all the way there in this offense. I'm not fully comfortable. Maybe lower your expectations a little for me in this offense. He's just almost from the jump, like going back into the offseason program, his very first press conference, I would say there's some diffidence from him, lack of confidence in terms of feeling like he can get where they want with this offense. And that's understandable. But if that's been going on publicly, and at least I've picked up on it, and if people want to say I'm reading too much into it, fine. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. But if he's saying that publicly, which I think he is, or alluding to it publicly, then wouldn't you think somewhere along the way they would break this up into smaller pieces for him?
Yes, potentially. And I'd be more worried if I hadn't seen it already, where I think they had to have done that with Mac Jones, and they obviously did it with Cam Newton. And this is where I sort of a break from you, Chris. I think Vrabel's more important in this regard than Josh McDaniels.
Okay.
I think it's the head coach's purview. If McDaniels is feeding Maye too much, and Maye can't handle it, or Josh is asking too much, it's up to Vrabel to see that and to go to McDaniels and say, listen, this isn't working, let's do this. Because I just think ultimately Maye should be tied at the hip with Vrabel. I don't want to let him off the hook, not the offensive coordinator. I mean, you look back in Tennessee. Mike Vrabel in Tennessee had a winning record with Marcus Mariota. He made the playoffs 3 straight years with Ryan Tannehill, including a conference title game. Do we look back and go, woof, that was Matt LaFleur, that was Arthur Smith, and that was Todd Downing? No.
I look back and say that was Derrick Henry, which he does not have on this team.
I understand. I just give the head coach the credit or the blame when it comes to developing the quarterback. I do.
I don't know. I mean, look, so do you give Sean McDermott the credit for Josh Allen?
I know, it's a good one. Maybe
that was all Dayball. Dayball came in and you made him what he is.
So I would hate to think Vrabel is just Sean McDermott. I would hope that Mike Vrabel is better than Sean McDermott, more of a complete head coach than Sean McDermott, who can get to his starting quarterback and develop the starting quarterback, if not in the technical part of it, in the bigger picture part of it. I've talked about this before.
Yeah.
So I think he's ultimately on the hook. To me, Drake Maye developing as a quarterback is on Vrabel even more than Josh McDaniel.
Yeah, I just think with the trust that this organization at the highest level has in Josh McDaniels and what he's done throughout the course of his career, I think McDaniels might be the single most important person for the Patriots this season. His ability to connect with Drake Maye, to coax the most out of Drake Maye, to make sure that Drake Maye doesn't backslide in year 2 the way Mac Jones did once Josh left to go to the Raiders, and they had to bring in what they ended up bringing in with Patricia and Judge to try and elevate Drake Maye the way that, as I just referenced, Brian Daboll did in Buffalo with Josh Allen in year 2, to try and fix this offense, which has really been woeful for 3 years in a row. I mean, last year, they were dead last in the NFL in passing yards at 176.1 per game. They were the only team that didn't top 180 passing yards per, not even the Bears with Caleb Williams out there chucking it everywhere and painting his nails. Even they were over 180 passing yards per game. The Patriots were the only team that didn't score more than 25 points in a game last year. So there's a lot on Josh. I have a lot of respect for Mike Vrabel. He's a very good coach, but I don't think anybody's looked at him and said, like, he's Bill Belichick where he can coach. This isn't going to be like Bill Belichick coaching quarterbacks in 2001 after Dick Rabine died and taking over for Brady. Because I don't think that's fair for Vrabel. I don't think that's a fair ask. I don't think that's who he is as a coach. I don't think there's really anybody out there who's a coach like that in the way that Belichick was in his prime. So a lot of this is on Josh. That's why they brought him in, to fix this offense and elevate this thing. And if they can't fix this offense, they're not going anywhere.
Chris, we've touched on this in the past, but initially there was some indication that the offense was going to be some sort of hybrid between the system McDaniels ran with Brady and something newer. Did that ever happen, and why not?
Yeah, technically, I mean, I haven't seen enough of them to know, but when the times I was at training camp and asking guys who've been in the Josh McDaniels offense before New England, like Ramondre Stevenson and Hunter Henry, there was no indication from those guys when I asked direct questions that this was a markedly different offense than what he ran before. I think there was some thought that he picked up some stuff at the college level, and also that maybe when they brought in Thomas Brown as the passing game coordinator and Ashton Grant as the quarterback's coach, that those were guys that had more of a background in sort of the McVay or Shanahan style of offenses, and that they were going to integrate some of that stuff. Maybe they have. I mean, it's hard to tell in preseason. It tends to be very vanilla game planning, but it doesn't feel like they've created some hybrid. It feels more like this is sort of the offense they ran before. I will say quickly, though, one thing that I do find heartening that I saw from Josh was in the Minnesota game. And those two high throws that Drake Maye had, both of those throws where he was under center, play action, had to turn his back. One of them was complete. Obviously, one of them was not to Demario Douglas. But then the rest of the time Drake Maye was in the game, he didn't attempt another pass that wasn't out of the shotgun. And that's Drake Maye coming up in high school and at North Carolina. That's clearly where he's most comfortable. It's where most of these quarterbacks are most comfortable, and they've spent the most time. So that seemed like a good on-the-fly adjustment from Josh.